Welcome to Splash of Socialism. My name is Lara, and I am joined by my co-host JT and Tristan the Tech Whiz. We are here to bring to light the lies being told to us from the top, and to discuss possible solutions to the actual problems facing us as a nation. Today we are here to talk about money and politics, specifically organizational donations and lobbying. Uh, JT, what do you think about lobbying as a concept?
I still don't even really buy into the original concept of it, in that it was created to help legislators better get background information on issues long before it actually became tied up with the money, I believe. Um, Again, like most things of most things that start off semi-beneficial but wind up outliving their usefulness, such as labor unions and religions, I believe lobbyism is the same thing.
I'm kind of with you on that. Maybe not so much the unions, but we can talk about that in a later episode. um, I personally feel like lobbying is sanctioned bribery, and if bribery is illegal, why is lobbying legal? When does the average worker get a lobby in Congress? Um, One of the things um, that strikes me is that our current congressman for Arizona's 5th district is Andy Biggs, and he has been contemplating a Senate run in 2022
Good for him.
against against Mark Kelly. Right, that gets him out of my way. The problem is, according to the AZ Central article I read this morning, he has so far only raised, Biggs has only raised $1.7 million, which supposedly puts him out of the running for a Senate run against Mark Kelly, who has already raised $101 million for his Senate run. That is an insane amount of money. Like, we are not having a government of for the people by the people because the people can't afford to run.
I, there's something I'd like to attack in a later episode regarding exactly that.
Well, why don't we go for it?
Okay. Back in 94, when I was running for an office in the Colorado State House, I delivered an editorial to the Bend Underground newspaper, and my platform was
Bent, do you mean fail?
must have been.
Okay. You ran in
Yeah.
Colorado, not Oregon.
Okay, this gets edited, but when I ran for the state house, I discovered two things. Number one, you don't have to wait for a lobbyist to find you. They find you and say, please fill out our survey. We want to know if you're worth donating to.
Interesting.
That was my first big money in politics thing. But where I was going with that was I came up with a position that all media buys for politicians sh- should be offset with an equal amount of that buy going towards a charity.
Interesting. That's an interesting concept.
You now, old school politicking, billboards, signage, things like that, but mass media, which does nothing more than spread sound bites for millions of dollars. Anyway, that was my take.
Oh, that makes sense. It's definitely going to be a hurdle I have. So far, I have raised $0 for my campaign, but I'm only like a week into it, so hopefully that changes. But I don't see myself even being able to spend $1.7 million on a
Once you get
congressional
into
campaign, let alone $100 million. That's just unfathomable.
until you factor in paid media.
Yeah,
That is the root of all evil.
that's definitely one of them. Um, I also think lobbying is probably a root of a lot of our evils too, which is totally separate um, from the campaign contributions. Like, what do you do with that much money? Like, how do you honestly spend $100 million in a campaign cycle? Like, what are you buying?
Yeah.
But
Again,
when we have the lobbyists and the unions and the corporations donating to our, or lobbying rather, our Congress, it's no wonder that our laws are basically being written by corporations and passed verbatim by our current senators and representatives.
and since what was it, Citizens United, um, they have every right to, I suppose.
Yeah, it's totally illegal. Corporation is a person, which I just can't wrap my head around. Like, a corporation is a piece of paper. Like, how, how are they allowed to have religious opinions and political views? Like, they're an entity,
Yeah.
and
A- And,
somehow we've decided it's speech.
yeah. Don't get me started.
Oh, well, I'm here to get you started.
We had to talk about something else though in the beginning, didn't we?
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about was, so corporations uh, and unions and other organizations, um, and also lobbyists. Like, those were the two topics I really wanted to talk about today. So on my website, proudprogressivepatriot.com, I do have a list of my stances on the issues that is kind of copied from the website I side with, which, if you're not sure where you stand on the political spectrum, or not sure which politicians share your values, it's actually a really great site um, to compare your views with the current political views. Um, so on my website, I took a version of theirs and modified it. And the two questions I have that I have answers to, that I want to discuss today, are: should lobbyists be allowed to donate to a candidate or a campaign? And I say absolutely not. Lobbying is sanctioned bribery and should be outlawed. Excuse me, outlawed. Candidates should win and maintain office based on their record with the voters, not how much money they can raise. It also uh, prohibits average people like me from being able to run for office. I'm not sure how I'm going to raise millions of dollars, but I'm hopefully will be able to raise all I need.
I think that's kind of like the Republican version of Jim Crow laws for politics.
Something like that. Can you explain what you mean a little?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you explain what you mean by that a little?
Well, yeah, they're making it more and more impossible for people of lesser means, especially anybody without a law degree, um, impossible to actually participate in the process. And for those of you who don't know, Jim Crow was a series of laws that went on 100 years after slavery to keep the vote out of the hands of blacks.
So you're talking about the new voter protection laws that are
No,
happening right now?
oh God, no.
Um,
I'm not even going that, not even that current, that, but absolutely that's part of it. But I'm talking about keeping people out of the the system for becoming elected,
oh,
such
I
as
see.
such as candidates.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's our whole system from day one is definitely skewed in favor of rich white men. Um, Something like, we have like more women and people of color in Congress right now. Hey, Tristan Tequiz, can you fact check how many people of color are in our current Congress? Um, he's gonna look that up, but um, I do remember hearing that we had, right after slavery ended, pre-Reconstruction, I believe, um, there were something like 10 African American men elected to Congress, and um, basically Reconstruction, in that process, uh, they changed all the, um, I don't want to say laws because it's not accurate, but made it harder for people without means, without cash, to run. And then we went decades without another person of color in Congress, and I'm being fact checked. So looks like 23% of, was that House and Senate, um, is women and people of color. Do you have a breakdown of which is which?
Heck, I think women are probably close to 40% in Congress now.
No, it's definitely closer to 20. There's like 40 members.
Oh, okay.
Um,
They just seem to dress better.
that's true. Um, but yeah, the bulk of um, um, our elected officials are white men. Like that's just not just in Congress and the Senate. That's in our state houses and our governors and our local offices. It's time to change that.
Well, and old, rich white men.
That's true too. I actually saw a breakdown. I wonder if I can find it, but it was like the percentage of Congress that is millionaires versus the percentage of average Americans that are millionaires. The yes, gross. And the average age of millionaires compared to the average age in Congress. Basically, Congress does not represent the American
Anybody,
people. No, no, they represent the rich white, you
right?
know.
Themselves, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
So why shouldn't they take advantage of everything that's offered to them as perks of their power?
they're they are doing. Oh, it looks like it's 27% of Congress is women right now, and 51% of the population. So we're got some catching up to do. So the next related, I want to we're talking about lobbyists, but also corporations and labor unions. Um, and this is back to Citizens United that they're being considered as people with freedom of speech. And um, my view on this is that money in politics is inherently transactional. And I think that elections at every level should be funded publicly with restrictions on the length of time before elections that you can campaign. I know other countries do this. Um, is it London or Canada? Um, that you only have 6 weeks before the election to campaign. You can't put out ads, you can't do speaking gigs, anything for six until 6 weeks before the election. And in America, the day after election day, I
We
hear,
start
okay,
can
yeah, we've got 600 days till the midterm election. It's like, can we like breathe with what we have in there before we're campaigning about the next one? Um,
well, I never noticed the absence of space between the previous election and the midterm nearly as much as I did this time around because we were still entrenched with the last one.
Yeah, we haven't even, we're still fighting the last election, and here we are running in the next one. That was one of the reasons I didn't start campaigning a year ago was I don't want to campaign for 2 years. Um, but I also want to talk about publicly funded elections specifically. Arizona actually does something really cool, and you can opt into um, their version of a publicly funded election. They don't do it for Congress, the House and Senate. They only do it for state elections. But if you opt out of corporate and PAC money, the state gives you so much money to run your election. And then everybody's on the same playing field, everybody has the same amount, and nobody is making horrible campaign promises to donors.
You're right. Now, I recall in the last election cycle hearing of people who said, nope, you can keep your money. I'm going to take everything I can get, or nope, I'm going to forego the money. I'm going to take yours.
Sure.
I do remember some of that.
Hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately for my congressional campaign, that's not an option. Um, I'd like to be noble and say I'm not going to take corporate money, but I'm not above that at this point. Um, why, why should I shoot myself in the foot? But once I am absolutely running on getting money out of politics. I'm running on lots of things. So that's the point. One of the points of this website is to or excuse me, one of the points of this episode is to go over the things that I am running on in my campaign. But it's not the only point. I do intend to continue this.
Lost you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there
Can't
you
hear
are.
me? Hear me?
And
Okay.
now
All right.
you,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Okay. And then yeah, I think that was the things I want to talk about was that I fully feel that lobbying is sanctioned bribery and should be outlawed. Um, I'm fine with, lobbyists coming and talking to politicians and making their views known, but they shouldn't be able to give money. Like they just shouldn't. Uh, I don't think corporations or unions or other organizations should be able to donate to campaigns. They're not people. Um, there was this whole thing in one of somebody in Donald Trump's circle got in trouble for giving bonuses to his employees for then the employees to turn around and give those bonuses as campaign donations. So basically reimbursing employees
Making
for
campaign.
donating, yeah, exactly, to the person that the CEO wanted to contribute to. Um, and like I think it's still an ongoing investigation. Like it shouldn't even come to this.
No, not at all.
No, we absolutely need to get money out of politics, and I think that is step number one, which is why I wanted to make it our first episode.
Well, and again, going back to my experience, I didn't know how even a lowly state level office was so deluged by the presence of money.
Sure. How much money
And
did you raise?
about $500.
Nice.
And I started in January.
Oh, for a November election.
Yeah,
Yes, you didn't have very long.
no,
I'm not doing a lot longer than that. Hopefully, I can raise more than $500. But I seriously like all I need is election signatures, right? Like that's how I can win this election is getting enough signatures to get on the ballot and put myself up against the current incumbent. And I literally cannot see how $1 million help me does that. Like I need to
Mhm.
be talking to people and face to face and interacting with people and getting my message out. Like I can see needing a couple $1,000s for, campaign, you know,
Materials.
swag and
Yeah,
materials and yeah, maybe some radio and some short video ads, but millions of dollars, like it's just untenable to the average person.
no, 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 no. You know exactly where it goes and how useless that money is spent, how uselessly it's spent.
It's very uselessly.
It's designed to send a 10-second boom, hammer you in the head. Next up.
My tech whiz made the comment about spending money on yard signs, but honestly, most people have to pay for those yard signs, so the campaign isn't even like they're making money on yard signs, not raising money on yards, or not spending
I,
money on yard signs.
I
It's
paid for
just
I
silly.
paid for yard signs, but my family and I also made some yard signs.
Oh, I definitely remember hand painting Smith signs to hang on
Yep.
telephone poles.
Yep.
Hopefully, my campaign will be a little less hand arts and crafts, but I can't see myself spending that much money. Like if I have to spend that much money to get elected, how bad is my message?
um, I don't even know how to answer that.
Right. We're sitting right at about 20 minutes. Do you have anything you want to add?
I think we pretty well trampled the topics. No, not sure what that we spread any light on, shown any light on it, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think I'm okay.
I I think we've covered the things I want to talk about. Um, but
Well, and just for a first time meeting our online friends, I hope we did an okay job of attracting your interest.
Yeah, and next time, the next episode, we're going to be talking about accountability for legislators and term limits.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Please go ahead and subscribe however you're listening, whether that's YouTube or a podcast. Um, I'm not sure how many episodes we're going to get out in this series, but we're going to keep going until we don't have anything to say.
And since we don't have a graphic for it, unless you do, what is your website?
My website is www.proudprogressivepatriot.com, and I am running for Arizona's 5th Congressional District in the U.S. House, and the primary election is August 2nd of 2022, and that's the election I need the ballot signatures for.
Wonderful.
And you can find this topic and more on my website. It's pretty in depth. And I'm sorry, Tech Whiz, I missed that last note. Can you
Said, please vote.
get out and vote? Yes, get out and vote. That's next August. As of right now, sign the petition and share with your friends and family who may live in the 5th District of Arizona, which is Phoenix's East Valley.
So would you say then at this point in your campaign that signatures is by far the most important criteria for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's what I need. I can win this election with $0 if I get the ballot signatures. Like that's what I need. So that's my goal, and I'm gonna continue to bring you guys these episodes. We're gonna continue to bring you guys these episodes, and tell you what my campaign is all about and what messages I want to get out there and what I want to do when I get to Washington.
Can our listeners actually go on your site and send a comment about the podcast?
Yes, absolutely. On the homepage of my website, there is a contact form. You can send me a message that way, or the podcast has its own email address, splashofsocialism@gmail.com. You could send an email there as well.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to do this again.
All right. Thank you guys for your time. I hope you enjoyed listening, and uh, good night, Arizona and the country.
Everybody in the 5th District and beyond. Thank you.